Endurance athletes face a unique set of challenges when it comes to recovering from an activity. Cyclists, and probably more particularly road cyclists, suffer from position. From the waist on up, we're stable, we're supporting the activity that occurs from the hips on down. And today's practice will help address some of those key areas and return pliability, flexibility to the tissues to support our performance, to recover more fully from an effort, and to prevent injury in the long run. Hi, I'm Steve, and this is Steve White Yoga. We're doing a practice on the mat today for about 20 minutes to deal with the cyclist. Join me. Start out on hands and knees, what we call table pose. So set yourself up and find all fours. Spread your fingertips nice and wide and let your knees fall below your hips, about hip distance apart. Tops of the feet will be flat on the floor. This is flatter for some people than others. So if it's just the tops of your toes on the floor, as opposed to getting the actual surface of the tops of the feet, that's fine. No big deal. We're going to start to use the breath and introduce it as the basis for moving around. So we're going to start with cat-cow, which is a common yoga pose. And so I'm going to take an inhale, and as I do, let my belly drop, lift my chest, lift my chin. And then as I exhale, I'm going to round my low back, pull my belly in, engage the abdominals, drop my chin to my chest, press through my hands. Nice, slow, even breath here. Inhale, lifting up from the chest, pressing the belly down gently. Exhale, pressing through the palms, reaching the tailbone under, drawing the chin to the chest. We're going to do this 4 or 5 more times. What you want to do here is look for range of motion. So really express the nod of the head, the lift of the head, and really express the tailbone. Tip of the tailbone you can think about moving up and down as you breathe. So this is just loosening up the low back, the shoulders. You've been in relatively stable position for a long period of time if you've been on the bike for a ride. And this is just a way to sort of get things moving and to bring your attention to your breath. A little deeper breath, last 2 rounds. Make sure you lift your head as high as you can comfortably on the inhale and tuck your chin as much as you can on your exhale. And then come back to neutral. All right, down dog, one of the sort of seminal positions of the yoga world. You may want to walk your hands a little bit forward for this one. Fingertips spread nice and wide again. Take the elbow creases, turn them toward the front of the room, and press through the heels of the hands. And then a little bit of energy through the tips of the fingers as well. Hands are in the same position for long periods of time on the bike, and often gripping, especially if you do mountain biking, you tend to grip a lot more. So we want to encourage the hands to activate in a different position. Curl your toes under. Send your hips back toward your heels. Let your chest settle down. Keep pressing through the heels of your hands. Take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, start to lift the knees off the ground, pressing the legs straight, hips going up toward the ceiling. Now your legs may or may not go comfortably all the way straight. It doesn't matter. This isn't about how pretty it looks. This is a matter of how it functions for your recovery. Settling your heels down toward the ground. You may be able to straighten your legs completely, or there may still be a bend in your knees. Let the weight of your hips reach back toward your heels. Let your chest descend toward the floor, and then just drop your head. Shake your head no maybe one time, shake your head yes. So nice and loose in the head and neck, which has been kept up for a long period of time. You can cycle the legs a little bit here by bending one knee, releasing the opposite heel toward the floor. And I usually like to stay here for a while because, among other things, this is a good stretch for the calves. And the calves can get really tight, and it takes a while for them to release. The whole practice, I find, for my body at least, is a lot more effective if I have calves that are relaxed and hamstrings that are relaxed. So we're working on both. You may feel this stretch through the backs of the knees, the hamstrings, even up into your glutes or low back. Any or all of that is good, and if you don't feel much anywhere, that's fine too. A couple more breaths here. All right, and then on your next inhale, we're going to lift the right foot into the air. As you exhale, bend the knee, and then drag that foot forward. You may need to assist it with a hand to bring it up to the level of each hand. Turn the left foot over so the top of the foot rests on the mat. We're going to take the right foot, walk it wide, making enough room for the right shoulder to drop down inside of the right knee. Walk your hands forward. This is called lizard pose. Almost everybody feels some kind of sensation here. And so when you find sensation, you can stay there. Some people can drop down really low, even release their elbows to the floor. That's fine, but if you can't get there, you don't need to. It can be helpful if you have a block or even a thick book and let your forearms rest on the book. We're going to be here for a few breaths. One thing I want to say, in yoga, we're not looking to sort of maximize the intensity. We're just looking for sensation. So consider this like the recovery bike ride. Your discipline here is not trying to work as hard as you can, put as much effort in as you can. Your work here is to try and relax into the pose, relax into the moment. So wherever you feel the sensation, it might be inner thigh, it might be inside your hip, even sometimes hamstrings, depending on the person. You could feel this in your low back somewhere. You can notice where sensation is, but beyond that, there's no use trying to figure anything out. You feel it where you feel it. One more breath here. All right, and then we're going to lift back up and walk the foot back to center. So it's like your back knee and your front foot are on parallel railroad tracks. And then you're going to take your toes just to start to inch your foot forward. And you're going to keep inching and keep inching, so that your foot lands maybe 6-8 inches forward of where it was before. Now I'm going to walk my hands back a little bit. You can use a block for this if it's more comfortable for you, a block under each hand. I'm going to start to lift my front toes up into the air. As I do that, my leg is going to straighten a little bit or a lot. Some people will have to keep a bend in their knee for this to work for them. Some people can straighten their leg. Again, it doesn't matter. So this is monkey pose, or half monkey pose, really. Notice my left hip in this case, the back hip. It's just a little bit forward of the knee. We don't want that hip behind the knee because it just adds a lot of extra effort to the posture, which doesn't really help anything. So you can stay here, or if you're a little more flexible, start to descend your chest toward your front knee. Drop your chin toward your chest, so lengthen the back of your neck. Take a couple of breaths. People will ask, well, so how long do I have to keep in each pose? And the answer is, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. So just to get a stretch, I would suggest that once you've established yourself in a posture, you stay here for 60 seconds or so. If you want long-term change in the shape of your tissues, in other words, if you want longer hamstrings over the long term, then you have to do a longer stretch. The science says 90 to 120 seconds in a posture will change the shape of tissue over the long run. All right, start to place that right foot back on the floor. And then we're just going to take the right heel and drag it back, maybe 6 inches or so. Right knee is going to now come over the right heel. And then we're going to lift up. So the right hand will rest on your right knee, left hand will be at your side. We want to start to stretch out this pesky muscle called the psoas, which connects the ball of the femur to the low back and even into the diaphragm, the breathing muscle. So your left hand's going to rest at your side. As you inhale, swing the left arm forward and up into the air as you stretch the hips forward a little bit, and then as you exhale, return. So this is called repetition. So we do this a couple of different times. Inhale up, exhale back. We'll do it twice more. And the reason for repetition is that the nervous system has a built-in safeguard so that you don't damage the joints, overstretch the tissue. And then we'll stay here. So once we've done repetition for a few rounds, it gives the nervous system a little bit of a chance to sort of soften, to relax, and you can get a little deeper stretch. You can stay here for a couple more breaths, or bend the left elbow. Reach around with your right hand, grab the left elbow, and then lift the left arm a little higher. Settle the hips down a little bit more. Good. Take a couple more breaths here. Remember, we're looking for about 60 seconds per position. Another thing you can do while you're here, you can either stay in that pose or bend the left knee, reach back with your left hand. And now we start to stretch the quad muscles here, sending the hip forward, lifting the chest. Take 3 more breaths here. Long, full breaths. The idea is that the exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And so on the exhale, by minute amounts, you soften a little bit. Those muscles, all of that connective tissue relaxes just a little bit. Good. Go ahead and release. And then curl your left toes under, lift up, and walk your left foot to your right foot. This is a forward fold, so this is just a little counter pose. So just hang loose here. You can even grab your opposite elbows. Let your head be heavy and relaxed. A little sway from side to side. Good. Put a bend in your knees, hands on the ground, and step your right foot back. Lower your right knee to the floor. Turn your right foot over so the top of the foot rests on the mat. Left foot's going to walk out wide once again. So we want some space between that shoulder and the knee so that we can start to lower down into lizard pose. For a lot of people, me included, I find that one side you distinctly feel more sensation than the other. On my left side, in this case, I feel a lot of sensation here. Let your head drop and be heavy. Take a couple of deep breaths. So, 60 seconds just to sort of restore whatever you had coming into your riding session. And for long-term, greater flexibility, greater range of motion, 90 to 120 seconds. And that has to be done regularly. People say, well, I don't always have time to stretch or to do yoga after I ride. And so I say, if you can't do it right after the ride, do it later in the day. Better to do it than not to do it, and make it just part of your riding routine. Long term, injury prevention. Shorter term, better recovery. Start to press into the mat, lift on up, and walk your foot back toward the center line. And then we once again are just going to work that foot forward. Yeah, and then starting to pull the left toes off the floor, straighten the left knee. This is half monkey pose again. You can stay here. You can have your hands resting on something if you need a little more height. The more you pull your toes toward, you'll notice the more you feel sensation in your calf muscles. And then if you have the flexibility, you can start to drop chest toward front thigh. Take some breaths. In my body, the hamstrings have to be stretched early on, because if they're not, they'll tend to cramp when I'm trying to stretch my thighs or my hip flexors. When I say thighs, I mean quad muscles. A couple more breaths here. Actively pull those toes toward you to get a little more sensation. And then place that foot back on the ground and slide it back a little bit so the knee lines up over the ankle. You're going to lift up, put your left hand on your left knee. Let your right hand lower to your side. And then as you inhale, sliding those hips forward, lift the right arm into the air. And as you exhale, lower back down. So we're coming out in and out of this again a couple of times to sort of work with the fail-safe that's in the neuromuscular system that wants to prevent us from overstretching and potentially damaging the tissue. Inhale, slide forward, lift. Now we stay here and breathe. You can stay here with your arm in the air, and that's fine, and just let your hips sort of settle down. Or pat yourself on the back with your right hand, reach around, grab the right elbow, and lift. A little additional sensation. You might even feel like your front ribs are pulling up and away from the top of your hips a little bit. A couple more breaths here. Good, and then I like to get the quad stretch while I'm here. This doesn't work for everyone because not everyone can reach around and grab their foot and not be in danger of falling over. But I'm going to reach around, grab my foot, drag it in, lift back up, left hand on left knee, slide forward. You can also keep your left hand on the ground for this. You just want to kind of have the intention of swinging the right shoulder around so it's facing forward. A couple of breaths. Staying here longer is better, especially these muscles on the front of the thigh tend to take a little longer to stretch out. So if you have more time, it's probably a good idea to spend more time. Go ahead and release, lower down. Curl your right toes under, lift the right knee. And then both feet come to the top of the mat. All right, grab opposite elbows and hang. Just let gravity do its work. Slide a little from side to side. Good, then release your fingertips toward the floor and use an inhale to slowly start to lift up. Take your time coming all the way up to upright, and then pause for just a moment. Let everything settle. And we're going to face the long edge of the mat and take a wide stance. So I think it's important to get a little lateral movement. First of all, it opens the rib cage up, which is good for respiration and for support when we're just mobile, when we're walking or running or biking even. And the other is we've got this pesky muscle in the back called the QL, the quadratus lumborum, from the top of the hip to the first couple of ribs. It connects in there, sort of in the outside edges of the back, and it can become really locked up through a lot of cycling. Take your left toes, or they'll be my right toes, because I'm facing the opposite direction as you. So your left toes are going to face forward now. Arms out to the side as you inhale. Triangle pose, this is called, as you exhale. Start to side bend from the waist. Take your left hand inside of your right leg. You don't have to go real deep with this. Some people want to make it into a contest and reach all the way to the floor, and then their upper body ends up coming forward and it's really awkward. So we want to be open from the palm of the left hand through the right shoulder. Hand on hip. And just feel that openness coming. You might feel the rhomboid muscles in between the shoulder blades squeezing together just a little bit. Trying to get some breadth across the chest. Now look down. Take an inhale. Swing the right arm up into the air. Reach for the ceiling. Good. Stay here for a breath. Next time you exhale, swing that arm forward so your bicep is over your ear. Really reach. And then inhale, look back to the ceiling. Let's include the neck in this. As you exhale, bring the arm forward, turn to the floor. As you inhale and reach your fingers toward the ceiling, look up. Let your head reach back and just relax, like it's cradled in somebody's imaginary hand behind you. Exhale, bring it forward, look down. Inhale, look up as the arm swings back up. One more time, bring it forward. Maybe stay here for a couple of breaths. You might feel the stretch going along the side body and even the outer back body, the lateral back body a little bit. Inhale, lift back up, and then rise, and turn all of your toes in the same direction toward the long edge of the mat. Take an inhale here, exhale and lower down. Excuse me, and then just settle in. You can let your fingertips or palms relax on the floor or just dangle if they don't quite reach. A little bend in the knees is great. A lot of bend in the knees is necessary for some people. Roll the weight to the outside edges of each foot, and then just shift your hips a little bit to one side and then to the other side. And you'll feel different muscles starting to react to that in the backs of the thighs. All right, you can stay here for as long as you want, but we have to move on. So, hands to hips. Inhale, lift halfway up. So now your chest is parallel to the floor. Exhale and lower down. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. A little bit of repetition here. Exhale and lower. And this time we'll come all the way up. Use all the back muscles. Lift all the way up slowly. Good. Your right toes are going to turn toward the short edge of the mat. Inhale, arms out wide. We'll do triangle pose on this side. As you exhale, start to side bend. Take the right hand inside of the right thigh, calf, knee, left hand to left hip. And then first create this opening across the chest. Look down. Don't force your neck to do anything, but make an intention of turning your head as far to the right as it will comfortably go. And then with an inhale, raise the left arm into the air, reach, keep that breath across the chest. Exhale, swing the arm forward. Inhale, lift the fingertips back up. Let's involve the head and neck. Exhale, looking down, arm forward. As you lift the fingertips, look to the ceiling. If your balance is compromised, well, there's something else you can work on. Exhale, bring your arm forward. Inhale, look up as the arm goes back. One more time, bring it forward, and then stay here for some breaths. And as you do, really reach through this left side, lifting the chest and reaching it forward. One more breath here. Inhale, swing the arm back around, lift all the way back up. All toes again will turn to the long edge of the mat. As you exhale, lower toward the floor. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Good. Lift back up again. And step your feet together. We've got two more things to do. Come onto your knees. Tops of the feet flat on the floor, hands at your side. This is just what we call counter pose, so it's just loosening everything up in the shoulders and the low back. As you inhale, swing the arms out wide. As you exhale, take the arms back behind and fold all the way down. Inhale, lift back up. Fingertips rise. Exhale, swim the arms back, chest to thighs. Inhale, rise, lead with the heart. Exhale, lower your hands to your side. A little twist, come onto your back. Left leg long, right knee in toward your chest. Arms out wide. Take an inhale. As you exhale, swing that knee across to the left side. As you inhale, come back up to center. Repetition before stay. Take the knee across again. You can even turn your head to the right if you want, and then turn your head back up as you lift the knee. One more time. Take the knee across, turn your head to the right. You can take your left hand. It can come to the outside of the right knee or thigh and encourage a little additional twist. This is a lovely one to stay in for a little longer. We won't today, but you're welcome to anytime you want. Lift back up. Put your right foot on the floor. Stretch the leg. Bring the left knee into your chest. Take an inhale. Exhale, returning to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Head goes left, knee goes right. Inhale and lift. Long breath. Exhale and twist. And we'll stay. All right, inhale, come back to the center. Bring both knees into your chest. One hand on each knee. Knees a little bit separated from each other. Straighten your arms and let your heels relax down toward your bottom. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, just slowly draw your knees in. And as you inhale, let them float forward. We'll just do this 4 or 5 times. Last counter pose. The exhale brings the knees closer. The inhale floats the knees forward. Great. And then go ahead and release your feet to the ground and stretch your legs long. It's always encouraged that you do a little bit of non-movement like this before you go back into your day, whatever that may bring. So this is called Savasana. Technically it's dead man's pose, but most people will say something like deep relaxation. So just allowing everything to sort of settle out. And you can stay here for as long as you want. So, how long does a practice have to be? We did a little over 20 minutes today. I would say if you ride an hour, you can get away with 10 minutes. If you ride 2 hours, it's probably 20 minutes. And if you ride 3 hours, it's 30 minutes or more. The longer you ride, the more compromised the system becomes and the more you need to do to restore it. So give this a try. Let me know in the comments section below how it goes. And please hit the like button if you enjoyed today's practice. And for more videos on the deeper practices of yoga beyond the mat, please subscribe. Until next time, keep on breathing.